All right, guys. Very excited about this message. The name of this sermon is going to be Up, Up, and Away. Up, Up, and Away. Oh, I've been excited since 3:30 this morning about this message. Can't wait to get it recorded and processed and uploaded and posted all over social media. I'm excited about this message. Somebody, oh man, this is going to be a blessing for somebody. Somebody's about to be blessed, but this message is going to be a blessing for you as the blessings of God get ready to overtake you. This is going to be good. This is going to be good. This is definitely going to be a fun one. So up, and away. Oftentimes, sermons come to me in a certain way or certain ways. Sometimes I'll be in the Word and I'll be reading, and something that I read will just stand out. It's like the words are just kind of popping up off the page at me, and as I read it and reread it, things start to come to me, and it'll build up as a message that I know I need to record. Sometimes in my sleep, I'll see things or hear things. It could be different things. Sometimes I'm just meditating on the word, maybe not reading the word, but just meditating on it, thinking about things, and something will come to me. Sometimes I may be at work and all of a sudden a thought comes to me, and it's just like a whole message will build around it throughout the whole time I'm at work. And then when I come home, I'm so ready to start studying for it and getting ready for it and everything. So there's different ways that it happens. But last night I woke up around 3:30 a.m. I was in bed and I woke up to the Lord speaking to me, and it was crazy because it's probably the loudest I've ever heard him. And it's not often at all that I hear him audibly, like in my ears. But I'm telling you, he was speaking as loud, probably louder than how you hear me talking to you right now. It was as if the room was just filled with what he was saying, even though it was coming from the inside. I heard it in my ears, and it felt almost as if it was a voice flooding my whole bedroom, and it was crazy. It was so cool. And he said something, because I kept thinking, man, when is the next message coming? When is the next message? I already done a couple of sermons this past week. I'm ready for the next one. I'm so pumped up. I just feel like something really good is coming. And then all of a sudden, like I said last night, I'm in bed asleep, and all of a sudden I hear the Lord speaking. I hear him ministering, and I knew that this word was going to bless somebody. And I'm going to tell you exactly what I heard. Listen to this. Listen. What I heard is this. Now, when I say this, don't get offended by the first part of it, because I'm fixing to explain it, okay? So just listen. If this is for you, and I'm going to break it down so you'll know if this is for you or not, but just listen. First, it was, keep your mouth shut. And there was a pause, and then it was, keep your mouth shut. And it was kind of a pause, and then it was this: the only place to go from here is up, up, and away. And then he said it again. The only place to go from here is up, up, and away. And then for a while it was real quiet, because I was laying there. I was like, I was listening. I wasn't going to say nothing. I wasn't fixing to get up, and I had to pee, but I didn't get up right away. I was just laying there. I was just waiting in the dark, like, is he going to say something else? And I was quiet because I felt like there was something else. And I just laid there for a second, and all of a sudden, it was like It was like he was speaking again, but it was like he was chanting. It was like I just heard him chanting, and he got louder and louder. He said, up, up and away, up and away, up and away, up and away. And it was almost like I could hear like a crowd going up and away, up and away. And it was like I could imagine myself preaching it and just doing this hand motion right here, up and away, up and away. And it just kept going. It was just like being at a football stadium before a big game and people just cheering and rallying, and then all of a sudden it got quiet again. And I was like, okay. And I finally got up and peed. But I laid back down. I was like, I wonder if he gonna say something else. But all night I've just been ready for this message, excited about it. And so whoever this is for, and I'm gonna break it down so you know if it's for you. But what you need to know is keep your mouth shut. The only place to go from here is up, and away. You might be saying, what do you mean? How do I know it's for me? Well, let me explain it. Whoever this is for, you're pretty down low. Not down low like, you're a low down dirty person. I mean, just, you are at a point in life where you're low. And you're thinking, where do I go from here? How do I get out of this? But you're not in a panic because you know God's got an answer, and you've been praying and you've been waiting on him. You know he's got more for you. You know he's got things in store for you. And you've tried to make better decisions in your life. You've tried to go about things the right way. You've tried to be obedient to the Lord, but you can't quite figure out what to do next, what step to take next. And you know you are at a point in your life where most people will be so frustrated, they'd be ready to either give up and throw in the towel, or they would be ready to try something different, to just give up on God and just try whatever. Go back to old ways of living that weren't right. But there's something in you that's just been like, you know what? I'm not going to panic. I'm going to trust in the Lord. I listen, it's not that I'm sitting back being lazy, not doing nothing. I've been doing my part. I've been obedient. But I know at this point there's nothing more I can do without possibly stepping out of the will of God. So I know I need him, and I know he's hearing my prayers. So I'm just going to focus on him. I know he's got this. And that's where you're at. But you feel like, your back is against the wall. You've got different issues going on in your life. I don't know if it's health issues, financial issues, just whatever it is. And you feel like, what other option can I take? How do I get out of this? And I'm here to tell you, the only way from here is up. It's just like that expression, the only way from here is up. The only thing after this is up. In other words, it's like saying I'm so down low, it can't get any worse than this. I mean, it's only up from here. Y'all have heard that saying before, it's only up from here. And that's what God is saying. The only way from here is up, and away. In other words, he's not just going to help you up to be right back in the spot you were in before you fell or before you got down low. He wants to take you higher than you've ever been. Not talking about drugs, though. He wants to take you higher than that without drugs. But he wants to take you up even further, but then away. In other words, he wants you not just up out of the situation, but away from the situation and into something better. In other words, he's ready to take you to a greater time in your life, not only in your personal life, but a greater time in your life in him, your relationship with him. He's got more for you and better for you. And all that's left now, all that's left from here is just to go up, and away. In other words, it may seem like one of the worst times of your life, but really you're set up for one of the best times in your life, because God is about to do some things that, listen, only he will get the credit and the glory for. But this is the other thing that lets you know this is for you. That first part where I was saying, keep your mouth shut, I was saying don't get offended by that, and this is what I mean. I didn't say shut your mouth. Let me say that again. Listen closely. Kind of like how they say it's not what you say, but how you say it. It wasn't shut your mouth. It was keep your mouth shut. And some may say, well, that's basically the same thing. But if you listen closely to how it's said, it's really not necessarily the same thing. Because shut your mouth means you're either talking too much or you're talking too loud. You don't know how to be quiet. But keeping your mouth shut implies that you're already being quiet. You just need to continue. You simply need to continue to be quiet. In other words, it's not something that you have to do, something to figure out, something to try. It's just confirmation letting you know you're on the right track, but to stay on it. Don't steer from this. Don't steer from what you've been doing. That's why you're ready. That's how the Lord knows you're about ready. Not shut your mouth, but simply to keep it shut. And now I'm going to explain to you why this sermon is a little bit different from many of the past blessing sermons, if that's what you want to call it. Messages that let you know it's time for blessings. Here's the thing. Oftentimes in past sermons where I've gotten people ready for what's to come for them, I've talked about being willing to share what God has done in your life. Be willing to say what he's done, or in other words, testify of his goodness. Let others know what he has done. Celebrate what the Lord is doing. Testify. Now, I'm not saying that this time you must pretend that God's had nothing to do with anything or nothing like that. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that this time around, it's not about being loud and openly celebrating these victories with everybody. This time is different because this time it's a quiet celebration. In other words, you should praise the Lord. You should thank God, but this time there are some things that God is about to do that's going to be very unusual, very outstanding, very over the top, and very sudden. But this go around also, you have to keep certain things to yourself, and there may be some things that you want to share that you can't share at all. There are some things that you have to quietly go into them. There are some blessings that you must walk into quietly. In other words, let me even say this. Even some of your best friends should not even know what's about to come. And that may be hard for some people to swallow. You have to go into this very silently. Don't brag, don't boast. Just go quietly in the directions that the Lord leads you. This is a time where not everybody needs to know everything. So celebrate, praise God, but not everybody needs every little praise report. See where I'm going? Okay, and I threw that in there because I don't even mean just friends and random people. I mean, even there may be even church folk that don't need to know. That's why I said some praise reports need to be left alone, because that's where we do that. Oh, I got a praise report. No, you don't. No, you don't, baby girl. No, you don't, brother man. No, you don't. Not this time. Praise the Lord. Give God a praise report at home. Just or just say, God's been good to me, and sit back down. This is not the time to go into great detail with any and everybody about what the Lord is doing. Why? Because this is about to be a fast victory in different levels and areas of your life. But in order for this to go quickly and smoothly, and all this transitioning happening the way it needs to happen, you have to go about this quietly. Otherwise, there will be interruptions, there will be bumps in the road, there will be hiccups from people trying to interfere, whether it be out of their flesh or whether it be the enemy, the devil, trying to use people to cause interruptions. And we don't need this right now. So, shh. Keep your mouth shut. It's not rude. It's not an insult. It's not me. It's not something being said to belittle you. Like if somebody comes up to you and says, you need to keep your mouth shut. That's not what it is. It's just something said to let you know you're in the right and you have matured because you've learned to be quiet and not tell everything. But it's just letting you know, shh. Come on, come on. You know, like when somebody's fixing to take you somewhere to show you something that not everybody else knows. So they come up to you and right away they're like, shh, hey, shh. Now come on, come on. Let me show you something. Come on, come on. That's kind of like what God's doing right now. He's sneaking up on you, creeping up on you in the middle of the night, talking about some shh. Come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on. Let me show you something. And you can say yes to him. You know how we tell kids, say no to strangers. If a stranger comes up to you and tries to offer you some candy or tries to get you in their car and take you somewhere, don't go with them, right? This is not a stranger. This is God talking to you. This is God saying, come on, come get the candy. But anyway, so for those that are following along in your word, a couple of places to look at. First is James chapter 4, and then we'll be in Genesis. But go ahead and go to James chapter 4, and I'll explain a little bit more. James 4. Now, let me say this. This next part may not be for everybody that this message is for, but at least somebody needs to hear this part right here. For somebody or for some people, what is to come, the blessings to come may be in the form of a type of elevation, which goes hand in hand with up, right? Up and away. But it could be elevation in the form of maybe a type of promotion, whether it be in the workplace or some other area of your life, okay? So, but listen closely to what I'm about to say. A lot of times in the past, I may talk about moving forward into something that you worked hard for. This is a little bit different because this type of promotion, whoever this is for, this is not something that you've worked for. This is not something that you've worked for. In fact, this is something that you are probably very unqualified for. And I'm not talking about how it was in past sermons where people said you were unqualified. Oh, no. This go around, it's an actual fact. It's not just the opinions of man. Even you know you're unqualified for what's to come. In other words, if God revealed to you right now what he was about to do, you'd be like, what? I ain't got no type of degree. I don't have no paper saying I can do that. I don't even know some of the words you just said. I can't spell it, Lord. How you spell what you just said? I can't spell it. I can't even write it down. You know, sometimes it's easier to spell something when you write it than when you try to say it off the top of your head. Some of you probably be thinking, I don't even know how to write it, let alone try to say it off the top of my head. How do you spell it, Lord? How do you spell that title? How do you spell the name of that position you got in store for me? But that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm being a little funny, but you get the point. You get the point. It's not meant to make sense, and you don't deserve it. And that's the other thing I got to get out of the way. It's not something you deserve. It's not because you're just so wonderful, but it is because God is wonderful. Amen. So that's what you've got to understand. that it's because of him. But now listen to this part. I need you to hear this. When this happens, there are going to be a couple of questions that are going to be asked, whether it be to you or about you. But there are going to be people around you that when you get this elevation or promotion, there's going to be a couple of questions asked. One of them is, who are you? Because there's going to be people who, listen, they either don't know you, never heard of you, or maybe they have heard of you, but they've never seen you. But the general idea is they don't know you, and because now you're new to the scene, or maybe it's not so much that you're new, but you've been overlooked for so long that when now people have to see you because of the elevation, they're going to be like, who are you? Because they were expecting someone that they knew. It would make sense that they would expect someone that they know to get the promotion. You would listen, it's almost like people are talking amongst themselves, talking amongst each other. Well, who's going to get this spot? Who's going to get this position? Who's going to get the raise? Who's going to get this or that? And ain't nobody thinking about you, but because of the favor of God who causes certain people to favor you at the right time, at the right moment, you can be chosen for something that would seem way beyond you and way over your head, and everybody else, when you get it, will be looking around like, who are you? Are you even from here? Are you from here? Did you grow up around here, or did you move here from somewhere? Like, do I know you? Have I even met you before? Who are you? And that might not seem so bad, but the second question might be kind of rough. The second question you'll probably hear a lot of is, who do you think you are? See, the first question, who are you, ain't so bad, but if somebody says, who do you think you are? Oh, goodness. See, usually when people ask that, they don't say it nicely. They don't ask it nicely. They don't say, hey, if you don't mind me asking, who do you think you are? They're like, who do you think you are? Right? Who do you think you are coming up in here? Trying to show out. Trying to take this position that everybody else has been wanting. Who you think you are? You think you all that? You think you know this? You don't know none of this. We know this. We've been doing this for years. In fact, there may be even some people that will argue about you getting this promotion or this raise or this elevation, and their reasoning will be things like this. Well, they shouldn't get it because I've been here for years. I've been here for X amount of years. Or I've been studying this for a long time and I'm very knowledgeable in this, and they know nothing of it. And they'll say a lot of stuff. And see, here's the thing. Unlike a lot of my other past blessing sermons, see, in a lot of the past ones, I talk about people bearing false witness against you and stuff like this. But see, this time is different also, because this time people ain't going to have to lie on you. They're not going to have to bear false witness on you. All they're going to have to do is say a bunch of stuff they know is true to try to make you look bad. By saying stuff like, you haven't done this for that long, and they have. You don't know what you're doing, and they do. They've been going after this position for a long time, and you 5 minutes ago didn't know nothing about it. So all they got to do is say some true stuff, and it might kind of shame you a little bit. You know what I mean? Or they'll try to shame you. They ain't got to lie. They ain't got to make up nothing. They just say just a whole bunch of true stuff. And you'll be like, dang, that's true. You know, you can't even get mad. You can't even get mad at no lie. You ain't even got time to get mad at a lie if it was said, because you'll be too concerned about the truth that people are saying. Man, they right about that. I hope that's not taken into consideration. Because I like this right here. I want to stay here. I don't, you know, I hope the people that God has used to bless me, I hope they don't listen to these folks over here saying all this true stuff, because man, it's so true. You can't even be worried about the lies. You don't have time to think about lies and false witnesses with true stuff like this. I mean, boy. But anyway, so with that said, you have people say some stuff. Some people out of anger, jealousy, resentment, some people getting in their flesh. But you also got to know that the devil will try to use people in some ways too. Why? Well, because, of course, he's the devil. That's what he does. But also because, as I said earlier, what God is about to do with you, because it's so silent, it's something that's going to catch the enemy off guard. He's not going to expect it, and he's not going to be able to really prepare to try to block you. See, this is also what causes this message, this blessing message, to be different from others, because I can talk to you all day about what the enemy will do to try to stop it, but this time it's not that, listen, he ain't going to be able to try to stop it because it's going to be so quiet and such a smooth, swift transition that he won't catch it to try to block it. But because he missed his chance to block it, you gotta know that he's gonna do what he can after the fact to try to ruin what has just started. So he won't be able to keep it from starting, but what he'll try to do is he'll try to ruin some stuff right at the beginning to try to make folks think twice about them blessing you in the way that God has put it on their heart to do. See what I'm saying? So he's going to try to ruin some stuff after the fact, but as soon as he can. And he's going to double time it to try to make up for that lost time. So what do you do? How do you go about dealing with this? James chapter 4 verse 7 says this. It says, "Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." A lot of times this scripture is quoted many times, time and time again, but a lot of times it's just that second sentence of the verse that's quoted that says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. We leave it at that, but it says altogether, submit yourselves therefore to God. Then it says, resist the devil and he will flee from you. There's a reason it's all one verse, and it's because it all goes together. And you must understand that if you want to resist the devil and get him off your back, you must submit to the Lord. In other words, you must do this the Lord's way, not just, okay, well, God did this for me, now let me do my thing. No. You've got to, listen, you've got to submit to the Lord. You've got to have a relationship with him. You've got to seek him. You've got to pray. You got to stay in the word. All the things I've been telling you. But not only that, but you have to continue to be obedient to him and follow his lead no matter what. So it's not just about trying to figure out how to battle the enemy on your own. It's not about trying to find ways to get back at people when they say something to you or about you that they shouldn't. It's not about trying to prove people wrong when they go out of their way to prove that you're not good enough for the favor that's on your life, the favor that has caused you to be elevated. In other words, don't keep trying to fight these battles in the flesh. Because when you do that, you'll only wear yourself out and you can't win it because they're coming with facts. They're coming with true statements. Like I said, it's not lies and false witness thing that you got to worry about. It's just true stuff. And it's reality and you can't run from it, but you don't have to run. It's about the devil running. It's about making the devil flee, but the only way to do that is to resist him, but the only way to do that is to submit to the Lord and let him fight the battle. See, that's what this is about. See, this is not hard. It should be an easy victory, a smooth cut victory, and you moving into this quickly and easily as possible. But the catch is, can you resist getting in your flesh so that you can resist the devil so that he can flee, or so that these people can get up off your back because they're mad about the favor of God on your life. You have to submit to him and let God deal with the things that you don't have control over. So, in other words, let those people talk. You don't have to try to prove them wrong. You ain't got to prove jack, squat, diddly. All you have to do is submit to the Lord. That's how you resist the devil. Don't let him tempt you into going off on nobody, and he will flee. At some point, sooner or later, he'll have to flee. But you've got to let God fight this for you. Listen, they did that with Jesus. They always was trying to prove him wrong, always trying to prove that he was not Christ, that he was not the Messiah, that he was not King of the Jews, that he wasn't the King of Kings or Lord of Lords. There were people that just did not want the general public to believe that he was the Son of God. And there comes a point at the end of the story in the Gospels where you had people who had began to question Jesus, questioning him about who he was. Oh, so you're Jesus the Christ. You're the Messiah, huh? Is that who you are? You're the Son of God, huh? Is that who you are? Who are you? They wanted him to go out of his way to try to prove who he was. Even Satan, when he was in the 40 days in the wilderness, kept trying to tempt Jesus to do different things to prove who he was, right? You got people trying to get him to prove it, not because they don't know who he is, but they're trying to pick at him. And there were times when people would question him, and one time somebody questioned him and Jesus just didn't even answer him. He didn't say nothing. Somebody else asked him something about who he was, and Jesus was like, "Thou hast said it." In other words, you said it. You said it, not me. Kind of makes me think of when kids are arguing, and then one of the kids is like, "Well, you started it, you know. You started it. It's your fault." Jesus is just like, "You said it." Whatever, I guess. You said it, you know. But then sometimes he just wouldn't say anything. He didn't feel the need to start these arguments to prove who he was, because he knew who he was, and also through his miracles you could see who he was. He was doing things that no one else could. And you had a lot of people trying to do things in his name and couldn't do it. And those who could do it flat out admitted, hey, it's through him that we are able to do it. It's his power, not ours. His power is from on high. In other words, Jesus knew that actions speak louder than words. So what I'm saying is, God is not just blessing you to bless you, but he will do things with you and work through you. And when people see how God works through you and see how you'll be able to do things that even they can't do, even though they're so educated and so worthy of the position and so qualified of the position, they won't have no choice but to stand back in awe and be like, okay, all right, you got us on that one. But seriously though, they won't be able to do much about that. They can question your validity all they want to, but at the end of the day, actions speak louder than words, and what God will do through you will say way more than any words you can say with your lips. Let me share this real quick as I get ready to go to Genesis. Go ahead and go to Genesis. So, I've been taking some martial arts classes, and some months ago I was in class this one day, and sometimes we'll be learning different things, learning different punches and kicks and moves and stuff. and we'll be all on the floor doing stuff. But sometimes closer to the end of class, one of our instructors will have us sit down against the wall and will have us come up one at a time to demonstrate something, or have us come up to, spar with somebody, kind of, fight with somebody to see how well, our skills have improved and this and that. And so we were sitting down, and the instructor had called somebody up, and so I'm sitting there, and I'm sitting with some of the kids, and I'm just sitting there chilling, and the kids are talking amongst each other quietly. And one of the kids was talking to another kid, and the kid said this. They said, "Do you know what offense means?" And the other kid thinks about it, and he says, "Offense? Fence? You mean like what's in the backyard?" Boy, that tickled me. I loved it. It was great. And I'm just quietly just sitting there listening, acting like I'm not listening, but I'm just listening, taking it all in. It was the funniest thing. The kid's like, "Do you know what a fence is?" And they mean offense as in, being offended at someone. They're asking, "Do you know what offense is?" And the other kid responds, "Offense," and then they break it down. Fence? You mean like what's in the backyard? The other kid thought they meant a fence. The other kid thought the kid was just saying a fence really fast. A fence. But they thought they meant like a fence, like what you see around the house. So they're just like, "You mean a fence? Like in the backyard?" I bring that up to say this. When people do and say things to purposely try to offend you in this season, you're going to have to leave it in the backyard. Oh my goodness. You're going to have to leave it in the backyard, buddy. You gonna have to leave it in the backyard. Let me put it to you this way. It's kind of like when preachers say this to their congregation. They'll say, "Okay, church, when you come in here, you gotta focus on praising the Lord. You gotta worship Him. You gotta really press in, and you can't be focused on all these other things, like the things that you're sad about, the things you're mad about, the things you're upset about. When you come in the church, leave all that at the door. Come in with your heart and your mind focused on the Lord and press in." When they say stuff like that, they don't mean it in a rude way. They're not saying that what you're going through doesn't matter. What they're saying is it's important to get the Spirit of the Lord flowing in the church. And in order to do that, we all need to be corporately, individually, and corporately focused on pressing in, on seeking Him. And it's hard to do that if you're not focused on God, and you can't be focused on God if you're focused on other things, if your mind is elsewhere. That's what I'm saying about this. People will try to offend you on purpose to get you wound up, to try to make you feel like less than, to make you feel like you're not good enough. They'll have something to say. But listen, you can't let it sink in. You can't let it get to you. You're going to have to take it, and you're going to have to put it behind you. That's what I mean when I say put it in the backyard. Put it behind you. Get behind thee, Satan. I put you behind me. It's got to stay back there. You got to keep it in the backyard. Chain it up like it's a dog if you have to, and move on and press forward. Don't let that be your focus, unless you lose focus on what's important at the moment, and that's God and what God has in store for you. Let it stay in the backyard. Don't look at it as a fence. Look at it as a fence, as the kid said. A fence? Like what's in the backyard? Yeah, like what's in the backyard. Genesis, I want to look at something real quick. For time's sake, let's see. Go to chapter 3. Go to 19. Now let me just explain some stuff real quick. In the chapter before this, well, we know at the beginning of Genesis it talks about God creating the heavens and the earth and all this and that, and him making everything in the 6 days, and then on the seventh day he rested. And then chapter 2 we see him putting together this garden, the Garden of Eden, and the river that goes out 4 ways, and how it waters the ground. And he's talking about putting the man in the garden and how he's supposed to tend to everything, and he sees that it's not good for a man to be alone. And so then he takes Eve out of Adam, and now you've got Adam and Eve. We know the story. We know how it plays out. And it starts out really good, and God, he's already laid the law down. He's told them, listen, this is all yours, but there's one particular tree that I don't want you to eat from. Because when you eat from this tree, you set yourself up for death. Don't eat of this tree, but enjoy everything else. And we know what happens at the beginning of this chapter, chapter 3. It talks about the serpent coming in, and how subtle he is, and how sneaky and how cunning he is. And he tempts Eve and talks her into eating from this tree, the one that God said not to. And then, of course, she talks Adam into doing the same thing. And when they do this, they see that they're naked, and now they're ashamed, and now they're covering themselves up. And then we see God come on the scene, and he's addressing the issue and questioning them. Why are you hiding? How do you know that you're naked? What's going on? Have you done what I've told you not to do? And so he addresses Adam, Eve, and the serpent, and punishes all of them. What a lot of times we miss, is this. What we miss is he gave them a perfect summary of the story, is he gave them promotion. We miss that a lot of times. He promoted them, and they did not deserve it. See, he made this beautiful garden and this beautiful scenery, and he had everything set up for the ground to be watered, and there would be times where it would rain. And he was making sure everything was just nice and beautiful and lovely. And all of a sudden he creates Adam, and then he makes Eve, and he's got everything just set for them. Everything's supposed to be good. And it's even to the point where not only does he give them dominion over this garden, but he gives them dominion over all the earth that he created. They didn't make none of it. They didn't prepare the garden, but he gave them dominion of it, and he gave them dominion over the fowl of the air and the beast of the field and the fish of the sea. Bible language for animals. So he gives them ownership, dominion, leadership over all things. It says it's all yours. All that I ask is that you not do this one thing, and me telling you what you can and can't do is really just my way of letting you know that even though you have all this leadership and dominion, there's still someone over you, and it's me. So don't get it twisted. Don't get it messed up. You're great, but you're not all that to where you don't have anybody else to answer to. You still got to answer to me, but I'm still giving you such a free reign to an extent. So he made them, and he made them in a way where things were set in place for them before the fact, but he gives them ownership as if they've done something to deserve it, but they didn't. So you could say he gave them promotion, even though they didn't deserve it. But he wanted them to have it because he found joy in that. So they get this promotion that they don't deserve. The enemy comes in, tempts them, and here's the interesting thing about this. We know that Satan was once known as Lucifer, and he was a magnificent, beautiful angel in heaven who was a leader of other angels, especially in the music department, the worship department. And he got full of himself. He became arrogant and egotistical, and he wanted to have the same worship that God had. And so he let it be known, I want to be like the Most High. And I want to have my throne set up in heaven, and I want this and I want that. And so he's booted out of heaven. And we say it, he fell from heaven, right? Well, what do we call what happened to Adam and Eve when they sinned? We call it the fall of man. So the one who fell from heaven helps cause the fall of man. So the enemy, Satan, is in his fallen state. He has caused man to be, listen, he's caused us to be in our fallen state. And we wonder why, but it shouldn't be a surprise. He was given promotion that he didn't necessarily deserve. He let it go to his head. He did what he shouldn't. And then he sees man, and man is formed and created, and he has to sit back and see God promote them in such a way that they don't deserve. And he has no choice really but to be jealous, because that's just his nature. He doesn't have the good nature that God has. And so he goes and he causes trouble, and he causes man to fall, so to speak, be in their fallen state through sin. And so I bring that up to say that in this time of elevation and promotion, in which God blesses you or puts you over things or puts you over people or gives you some type of dominionship or rulership or whatever it is that he does for you, don't let the enemy use people or things. Don't let the enemy tempt you into doing the very things that God tells you up front not to do. Because if you do, you risk losing what God has put you in, and it's going to be hard to fight for it when you know good and well you didn't really deserve it and didn't do anything to earn it in the first place. Uh-oh. So what I wanted you to look at was 19. Because a few verses before this one, we see in detail how God deals with Adam, how he deals with Eve, and how he deals with the serpent individually with punishments for what they've done. But I want you to look specifically at 19. It says, in the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread till thou return unto the ground, for out of it wast thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust shalt thou return. He's saying, so now some things won't be as easy for you anymore, Adam, now that you've done what you've done, now that you've sinned against me. And there is coming a time when you will surely die, and you will go right back into the very dust that you came out of. You wouldn't have had to die, but because of sin now, you've let sin in, and now you've let the curse of death come upon your life. And upon your wife. Here I am rhyming again. But now you're going to end up back where you started, is what he's saying. You're going to end up right back where you started. You came from the dust of the earth, but now you're fixing to have to go right back in it one day. And it didn't have to be your end result. What I'm saying to you is this. Be careful. Resist the devil, because if you don't, he's going to get you into something that will cause you not only to lose what God is trying to give you, but it will cause you to go right back to where you started. In other words, look at where you are now. Look at where you are now. You're about to go up, up, and away. You're about to get out of it. What I'm saying is, when you get out of it, cling to God, submit to him, resist the devil, because if not, you might find yourself not only out of what God is getting you into, but you're going to find yourself right back in that spot that you were in the first place. In other words, you're going to find yourself right back where you are right now, trying to figure out again, how am I going to get up out of this time? I just realized I look kind of like the Nutcracker right now without a hat on. Without the hat and without the mustache. That's what I kind of look like because of my vest. Because the vest got that red pinstripe. Anyway. I just realized that just now. Because I'm looking at myself on video right now. I can see myself recording this message. And I'm looking at my outfit. And I'm just now realizing I look kind of like the Nutcracker when I do this. Like I should be going dun 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 dun, marching to you. Anyway. But anyway, I wish I had realized that earlier. I would have tried to find a fake mustache, put it on or something. I don't know. But I hope that it's something that gets you thinking. I'll share this last thing with you and I'll wrap this up. Getting ready for this message, I was just thinking on things, and I was thinking about balloons and how balloons quietly float up in the air when you let them go, whether it be by purpose or on accident. They float up in the air and they float on till you don't really see them anymore. But what trips me out is how quietly they float on. You know, if you're close enough to a bird, you can hear the wings flapping when they fly off. A plane, a helicopter takes off. It has to make some loud noise before it drifts far enough away from you to not hear it anymore. But balloons are something that quietly and gently and gracefully just float on. And they're very unpredictable because one minute they could be kind of going this direction and the next minute they just kind of go this direction. And sometimes they may go forward just a little bit and then they start going up just a little bit. And sometimes they go at a decent speed and then all of a sudden real quick have you ever really watched a balloon when it's outside? Somebody's holding a balloon, a kid's holding a balloon, and then they accidentally let it go and they're like, oh no! And the adult tries to catch it, but they can't, and the balloon it's just like, na, 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 right? Just doing its own thing. A couple of months ago, I was out of town seeing my cousins Kendra and Trey graduate. And they're graduating from high school, and like many schools, they had their graduation outside. Some schools do it in the gym. Some do it outside. Some plan to do it outside, and then if it rains, they do it in the gym. But anyway, they were outside on the football field, and people are filled up in the stadium watching them. And you know how it is. Somebody on the microphone announces a name of somebody, and people start clapping, and that person comes up, and they get their diploma and shake some people's hand, and then they walk across the stage, and then they get off the stage and go back to their seat, and then it's the next person's turn. So it's a time of celebration. There's times of clapping and cheering and waving their hands and pumping their fists and just excitement in the air. You just feel it. You sense the excitement, celebration, loudness. But all of a sudden, some balloons, I noticed, started floating. And it seems like I've noticed that pattern so many times of being at a place where it's a time of celebration outside. And it always seems like there's always at least one balloon that gets away from somebody every time, whether somebody ties it to something or a kid is holding it or something. But some way or another, a balloon accidentally gets loose and it just takes off and nobody can catch it, and you just hear somebody in the background, oh man, mad that the balloon's gone. But I'm seeing this balloon rise up from the stands where people were, and it was just making its way on, kind of off to the side, and then it kind of just quickly went on up in the air. And I was pondering on that earlier. I was pondering on that moment when I saw that happen, and I was reflecting on how I kept seeing that pattern of a balloon getting away all the time. I was just thinking about it, and something hit me, and it's this. I realized now I see why I'm thinking about these balloons and how they keep getting away during celebrations, because that's how you have to be. That right there, whoever this message is for, that's how you have to be. You have to be that balloon. It's a time of celebration. It's a time of promotion and elevation, because that's what they're doing. They're graduating, or they're getting married, or they're having a birthday party, so they're celebrating moving up in age and maturity, or whatever the celebration is. It's a good thing, and somebody's being cheered on for, right? But there's always a balloon that quietly rises up and floats on. Now, the person that loses that balloon, they may, flip out, but usually people don't notice it right away. But when they do notice it, it's too late. It's too high up in the air, and nobody can stop it. That's how you have to be. It's a time of celebration, but instead of being all like, yeah, woo, yeah, this is awesome, like everybody else, this go around, you got to be quiet. Right? Remember what I said at the beginning. Keep your mouth shut. You got to be quiet, and you got to let God just. It's like you're a balloon and God's holding you, and he's purposely fixing to let you just rise up. Right? Up, and away. Just like those balloons during times of celebration. You quietly just, can't nobody hear no wings flapping. You ain't no bird. You ain't no chicken trying to fly. You just like that balloon, you just gone. And when people notice you, it's going to be too late, because you're too high up for them to reach. They can't pull you back down. The devil can't shoot darts at you to pop you, to make you come back down, unless you let him. Remember, submit to the Lord and resist him, and he has to flee, right? Because no weapon formed against you shall prosper. So he might try to shoot darts, but they'll all miss. God's got it, because God's everywhere. He may let the balloon go, but he's still everywhere. So even when you're in the air, he's already in the air too, right? So he's just everywhere. He's on the ground letting you go. He's in the sky. He's across the street. He's at your next destination. He's everywhere anyway. So he's just guiding you the whole process through, just like Moses in the waters as a baby. He didn't get ate up by no sharks or nothing, no alligators. He just floated along until the Pharaoh's daughter finds him and takes him in, right? You've got to just float on, up, and away quietly. And when people see it, it's going to be too late for them to try to stop you. All they can do is just be like, oh, no, it got away, it got away. Yeah, you got away. You got away at a time where people least expected it. And you got away so quietly with what God has in store for you. They're going to be so upset they didn't see it coming and couldn't stop it. It's all going to be so fast. It's just too late for anybody to try to stop. Unless you let it happen by not submitting to the Lord. Thank you all for listening. I'm going to pray us out of here. Heavenly Father, I thank you for another time to minister another word. I pray that those who would need this message, that they would tune in to hear it, that they will receive it. I pray that your people, Lord, would be ready to go up and away, leaving anything and everything that's a hindrance behind. And Lord, I pray that this will be a safe, smooth, soundless transition into the greater parts of their lives that you have in store for them. I give you the praise, glory, and honor. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.